people look at people that are investing like myself, and yeah, I have like 43 units, or you meet another person that has like 100 units. But behind closed doors, like when we're working together, we're learning just as we do everything. Like we don't know everything. The difference between us and someone that is just talking about getting into real estate and is afraid to do it is just taking that first step and trying to learn as you go and take the risk. Uh, I don't know, like during that 32 unit Lancaster deal, when I got it and when I underwrote it, I was like, this looks like a good deal, but what do I do? And I just brought it to people and I learned as I went. And that's the thing. Like from the outside looking in, if you're a new investor and you're very new at this and you see people that are excelling and doing really well, don't take it as like, they're so good at what they do, or they're experts, they're the best, or they're just, I can never be that. I'm scared shitless every single deal that I do because I'm figuring it out along the way. Yes, I have more experience and I've done it before, and I kind of know that the numbers line up and they do work as long as you just keep pushing forward. So I have that experience, but it's nothing like just taking that first step forward and then you learn as you go. That's the biggest thing.
Hey, what's up, all of my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier, host of the Why Not Real Estate podcast, with the final episode of 2023. Very excited to be closing off the year. We have with us tonight a young 29-year-old real estate investor currently living in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he grew up in my backyard in New England, has properties in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. This young man caught the entrepreneurial itch at the young age of 26. Believe it or not, he's only been at it for 3 years and he's already crushing it. He realized working his traditional 9 to 5 that this was not the way that he wanted to find his route to financial freedom. Since then, he has now amassed over 43 units. He was actually friends of one of our other guests on the show, reached out, and we're happy to have him. He's now across the Carolinas, Massachusetts, Connecticut with his real estate business, Hammerhead Capital. He has a couple other businesses as well we're going to peel back. So he's done experience with fix and flips, residential burrs, commercial burrs in the residential realm. His main niche in investing is finding commercial units, residential properties that are undermanaged, purchase them at a good price with a value add component, and then stabilizing them, refinance them, rinse and repeat. In addition to his real estate investing, this young man is also a private hard money lender for smaller 1 to 4 unit residential properties. He's done fix and flip, new build, DCCR, and bridge type loan products with his other business, Center Street Lending. And I'm happy to say that he owns a company to educate something that is under the radar with a lot of people. And I hope we get to peel back some of that. That company is called Dia Badass. And I talked to him a little bit off camera, that, and very interesting. It's near and dear to my heart as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with our platform tonight. The CEO and founder of Hammerhead Capital Incorporated, Mr. Wendell Butler. Wendell, welcome to Why Not Real Estate Podcast.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm excited to be here, be the last person of the year to come on this awesome podcast. Heard a lot of great things, and I just thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. You reached out to us from one of our other guests, Ryan Emmerich, who it's a long, 5 degrees of separation. This person knows this person knows this person. And it's just been really snowballing for us here on the show. We've got some exciting things coming up next year, but let's dig into you and get your story rolling. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you used to do before you figured out real estate?
Absolutely. So I never was really into real estate when I was younger. I mean, I wanted to go the traditional route of, finding a high paying job, um, just making 6 figures or so, and going kind of the traditional route that I never really opened my mind to other avenues other than that. I actually went to college in University of Rhode Island. I went to I was wanted to get into the medical field, so I was interested in the medical space. Um, I initially wanted to be a physical therapist, switched from that to going on the track to become a physician assistant. I completed all my college, studies and stuff, and started applying for PA school. I was doing some certified nurse assistant work to get build on my hours to be able to apply as well. And I kind of just fell out of love with it. I had to get like 2,000 hours, and I hit like that 2,000 hour mark, started applying, got accepted to a few. And I was like, do I really want to go back to school for 2 to 3 more years and be basically stuck, like have this license hang over my head that like this is what you need to do? Because I would be making good money. Um, People would be proud of me, but like, would I really be proud of myself? I was like, I don't know. So I kind of just went on I call it a quarter life crisis. And I was like, I'm not doing physician assistants anymore. I don't want to do that. I'm going to take a break. And I moved to Miami, hung out with some entrepreneurial friends that were into e-commerce. They created a thing called CrossNet, which is a four-way volleyball net. I don't know if anybody has ever seen that or seen that like on Instagram or Facebook ads and stuff, but I was with them when they were building it from the get-go, and I saw them like struggling, saw them finding other ways to make money, and I was like bartending and kind of helping them at the same time, living in Miami, living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to figure out what I want to do. And they opened my eyes to like there's other ways to make money and not have to work a 9 to 5 or work for just somebody your whole life. And they really opened up the risk aspect of like taking risk and getting big rewards. Now, that's when I kind of started reading more books about real estate. I was trying to find a way to make money. I started e-commerce brands. I'm like, I'm not really good at this e-commerce stuff. I don't like social media that much. So then I started reading about real estate, started reading about, bigger pockets and stuff like that. And I started listening to Big Parks podcasts and just slowly engulfed my mind with a lot of that information. And that kind of snowball affected, just snowballed into me getting more interested in real estate. And that's where I found myself getting into the lending space, found myself getting into investing in real estate and just trying to figure out any way to, build a company myself to reach that financial freedom.
So I want to unpack that just a little bit. You were straight on course, PA, physician assistant. Life event happened. You said, no, this isn't for me. Now we're in Miami. You hooked up with entrepreneurial people, which Jim Rohn says all the time, you're going to be the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So you were fortunate enough to land in a pool, probably did land in a pool
Oh yeah.
with other entrepreneurs who opened up your mind to risk versus rewards. That peeled back books, bigger pockets. We'll talk about books in a little while. And now all of a sudden, real estate is on the horizon. So were there any other influences when you were growing up or any other people who may have, planted that seed early on that maybe real estate might be a way to financial freedom?
Not really. I mean, my parents, well, so anytime you talk to someone that is, I guess, older and has experience and like kind of is towards their retirement type age or so, anytime I talk to them and ask them like what they would have done different, almost half of them would always say, I do wish I would have bought real estate because looking back then and what it could be now and seeing the market now, that's something I really wish I would have done. And my dad used to always tell me like, real estate is a great investment. He never got into it until I started doing it. Then he wanted to partner with me and stuff. He's less of a risk taker, but he always understood like real estate was just a phenomenal investment. And he would always tell me like you should think about real estate. And if I ever brought up real estate, he would say, oh, that's fantastic, like that is something you should do. He didn't push it necessarily, but he always had like a positive view on it. um I kind of just learned it myself just from watching social media, YouTube, reading books, and just once I did that, you know how the algorithms just start kind of attacking you like on social media and stuff. Then so much more information was like attacking me, and I'm like, okay, this is exciting, and that's how I kind of learned it myself. But and to go back like the diabetes thing too, when I was diagnosed, I was 25, and that really pushed me over the edge to be like, it's time to take a risk to basically create a pathway that I don't have to worry about my health. I don't have to worry about like working a 9 to 5 to pay for that health necessities and stuff. I want to be able to be as free as possible, and all that combined at once just pushed me on the path to take the chance and start going down real estate.
So was there like you started to trickle in, trickle in, trickle in? Was there like that moment or that epiphany where you just turned that corner and said, hey, wait, there's something here in real estate. I think I'm gonna this is something I'm gonna go after. Do you
Yep.
remember what that moment was?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I moved back from Miami to Massachusetts, and I bought a condo. I was kind of reading about real estate then. I'm like, I should probably buy something and not rent. Uh, that's about as real estate investment minded I was at that point. I'm like, renting, I'm paying someone else; buying it, I'm appreciating and making some equity, I guess. But it was when I was living there, um, I found a way to basically have like a 0% down loan by using state government loans and stuff. So I was very savvy with financing to like not pay to pay the least amount of money to obtain the property. But I bought that property for like $145,000 or so, right before or right during COVID. Um, and then as I was living there and reading more about real estate investing and working like a 9 to 5, still selling like payroll for ADP, which is, I did not enjoy that job. I can tell you that. Um, that I started thinking like, hey, maybe I should like fix up this property a little bit on the inside. And I was still kind of like, I want it nicer for me, but also it'll increase the value. So I was slowly getting towards that real estate investing mind of like, this could be worth more if I do this. But it was kind of half like, I want a better kitchen because I want a better kitchen. And it does provide value. So I fixed up the kitchen myself. Some family helped like with physical labor. That was fun. Did some painting, did some walls, um, just touched up the place and made it look better. And then after a year, I decided, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try to get into like a house hack with a multifamily because I was living there and I had a roommate there, that was helping me pay the mortgage. And like then again, like I just had a roommate because I'm like, this is probably smart. He's gonna help me pay my mortgage. I didn't know that it was house hacking. And then I started reading more books. I'm like, house hacking. I'm doing that right now. Like live and flip. I just did that, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm gonna try to buy a multifamily now, like a duplex. So then I ended up finding a duplex for a good deal. And then what really turned the switch was when I sold my condo. I sold it for like $225,000 or so, and I netted like $70,000 tax free because I lived there for a year. And there's like a component of, if you live there, there's a rule. If you live there 2 years out of the 5 years, you get up to like $250,000 tax free. But if you live there for 1 year out of 5 years, you still get $125,000 tax free. You just use this tax code that lets you use a percentage of the time that you live there to still get a certain amount tax free. So I walked away with a check of $70,000 tax free just from flipping a kitchen, painting some walls, not a ton of stuff that I put into it, maybe $10,000. And I'm like, I just made my salary more than my salary at my 9 to 5 by living in this house, flipping a kitchen, having my roommate help with my mortgage, and then selling this property. Um, I think there's something here in real estate for me, and I'm going to keep on pursuing this because the amount of money that just came out of this deal compared to how much hours I have to put into 9 to 5 to make that money, the smarter play is probably to focus more on real estate as much as possible. And that kind of flipped the switch. And I was like, it's time to really crank down and start focusing more on real estate.
So yeah, really good numbers there. You came in at 145, put 10 into it, so you're 155, sold it at 225, if I got that right.
Yep.
75 tax-free in your pocket, tax-free.
Yeah.
So if you did the taxes on that, that's like $85,000. And that's
Yeah.
at 1.2. That's as an employer. it's really probably closer to 100K if you had to pay the taxes on it. If you paid the taxes and got the 70 in your pocket. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And then if you think about it, like I put in 3 weeks of work,
oh, you're
like
killing me.
flipping the kitchen and then like painting the walls. So I was just living there and then 3 weeks of actual work on the property. And then just kind of living there with my roommate, whatever. And after all that time, you netted like $70,000. I was like, there's something here. I'm like, either I hit the jackpot or there's something here. But also, I'm not going to say that COVID didn't help me. COVID obviously probably made it sell for a lot more than it would have. But I still think that if COVID didn't happen, I could have sold that for like 200,000, 205, 205,000, and I still would have walked away with pretty much my base salary of my job, and that still would have flipped the switch for me.
Yeah, 50 to 70K. That's a nice free lunch. So
Yeah.
you took that 70K tax free. Was that your down payment into the duplex?
So it was mostly for the closing costs. So I'm a veteran in the military, and I made sure to be able to get my VA loan because I understand the financing and how to leverage. So I want to put it the least amount of money possible in every deal I can. So with this duplex, I bought. Well, the duplex is actually kind of confusing, but um, just to hit the basics, I mostly just paid closing costs for it. So it was around like $10,000, and I still had $60,000 to do kind of what I wanted with. I'm gonna say that I did not use that $60,000 correctly, as good as I could have, because it was the first time that I got that much money at once. So let me teach everybody a lesson here. Do not the first win that you get, don't just splurge it, because I wish that I had that back to put into real estate now. I put about half of it into good investments, but like the other half I just splurged. And granted, it was a fun time I had, but I do wish I had that back, and I wish I put it into like more real estate as much as I could. But that's another story that we could talk about. And that was a big learning lesson for me. And that if next time I get a big deal like that, I know exactly what I'm doing with it, and I'm not going to splurge it.
So you have 70 in your pocket, 10 were your closing costs. Was that all you had to put down to buy the duplex?
Yeah. So this is when I showed basically my dad. I was like, "Hey, this is what I did with the condo," and he's like, "Holy smokes, you did that?" I was like, "Yeah." Now, and I started thinking about the Burr strategy. So I was like, I can like keep a property and refinance it and still make like possibly money on top of it, and still not put any money into it. So I asked my dad, I'm like, do you want to like be like my private lender for like kind of a Burr type strategy? And we came up to an agreement that I would pay him an interest amount, get it refinanced within a year after we do all the work, and that's what I did on a duplex. So he helped buy it as my private money lender. Uh, he bought it basically, yeah, as my first lien holder. I put 0% down, but I paid him a good interest rate and some points as well on the back end once it was finished. And then once I finished uh, constructing and rehabbing all the units there, it was a duplex. It was up and down duplex, and we made it a lot better than it was. I basically back end bird it, so backdoor kind of bird it by using my VA loan to refinance or buy it from myself as
Sure,
my
sure.
personal residence. So I bought it for like $315,000. We put about $100,000 into it. My dad paid for a lot of it because he was trying to find ways to make money during COVID, because it was a time where the stock market was not bad. I mean, it was bad. So he's like, I need to make money somewhere else. So he put it into this deal to get like a nice return. Um, and then it ended up being worth $440,000, where I bought it with a VA loan. They covered 100% of it, and I paid $10,000 for closing costs. Had the $440,000 property. Paid off my dad, and then he got some extra, and then he even cut me a check after for like $20,000, because from what I owed him uh minus what we profited from like the increase of how much it's worth, there was $20,000 extra to go to me. So I ended up doing like a burr and made $20,000 on the duplex in the end.
So I want to go back to your dad being in the first position.
Mm-hmm.
When you first purchased the duplex, what was the purchase price?
$315,000.
315. So that was the original purchase price. And then when you refinanced it, traditional institutional lending, it was the same price, and you had already put 100K into it to fix it up.
Yep. When I bought it with the VA loan or so, once it was all fixed up, it was worth $440,000
With 10K down.
with 10K just for closing costs, really. Yeah.
And that 100K got wiped clean when
Yep.
you did
Because
the refi?
so yeah, so basically I owed him like $405 to $410,000 once it was done, right? Then I bought it with the VA loan, and they gave me 100% loan for $440,000. So imagine they gave me $440,000 to me, and then I just gave my dad the 415 or so to him, and then I was left over with the difference of that. And that's kind of like how I did the Burr strategy, but it was a weird way to do it, but it's very similar.
So your return on investment here, you put 10K down, you got 20K back. And oh, by the way, now you're stuck with this asset that you own for 440K. You probably house hacked the half that you lived in and rented out the other half.
Yep.
So what did this cost you a month? Now I get my calculator out. I
Yeah.
love
So
looking at these deals,
yeah, what was great about this deal was when I refinanced it, it was during like the interest rates were amazing. So I got an interest rate of 2.75 for a VA loan. The mortgage right now is, and back then was like, it was like $2,500, you would say, and that's with taxes and insurance and everything. When I lived there for free because I had a roommate with me that paid me like $700, and then I had people upstairs that were paying me like $1,800. So it basically broke even on the mortgage. So I was living for free and house hacking. And now that I moved out, I think it brings in $3,700. The mortgage payment's about $2,600. So you got like 1,100, then minus like any repairs and stuff. It probably nets around $500 a month. Um, and it's
And
appreciated even more. So now it's worth like 520,000, and it has land on it. This property is great. It has land next to it, and this is one of the reasons I bought it. That I'm currently subdividing to either build another duplex there or sell it to a builder for $120,000. So technically, the property is probably now worth like, if you count the land that I'm subdividing, it's like $660,000, and I owe like $430,000 on it about.
yeah, you've definitely stacked that one up from 70K to, if you were to walk away today, 3 times that, 210, 220. No reason to walk away from it. It's you have tenants paying for it.
Mm-hmm. And
You're
the rate is so low, it's hard to even try to sell that.
So that was fixed.
Yeah, that's fixed for 30 years,
Oh,
2.75.
that's beautiful. Okay,
And it's a
now
VA loan, so there's no PMI or anything like that. So it's very cheap.
now I got to do this. All right, so your mortgage on the whole thing was 415-ish.
The mortgage, when I first closed on it, like 440,000.
Okay, 440.
It's probably around like 430 now.
So you're still getting a $16,000 deduction every year on top of all that.
Yep. Yeah, for like the depreciation and
That's
such.
right.
Yeah.
Now, people look at the cash flow, but they don't look at what's coming back through the expense side sometimes too. So that's a really very nice deal.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so
technically, I make a cash flow of $500 a month, but the depreciation basically offsets it. So I pay like no tax on that $500 a month.
yeah, $500 a month plus $1,300 a month in depreciation, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's a pretty nice deal.
Yeah, I like that deal. And that was my first kind of burr strategy deal. Um, and that opened my eyes even more to the possibilities in real estate and how you can really, you know, you don't need money. You don't need personal money to make deals happen in real estate. As long as you can create a deal and make other people money as you're doing it, they will fund you. Yes, it is a lot more complicated than a lot of the gurus say. Like, just go find someone to give you money. It's a lot. It is harder than that. You have to kind of build a track record, but that's sort of what I did with the condo to get to there to be able to have this opportunity to execute on this.
What I love in your story is you were able to do this with your dad and lift him up with you as at the same
Mhm.
time as you were, making money in the real estate thing. He kind of saw the potential and he was able to do this. My
Yep.
dad's been gone for a while now. He was a builder, and I mean, if my dad would have understood property management, my life would have had a totally different trajectory because he was a contractor, he was a builder. He would build, sell, build, sell, build, sell. So
Yep.
it was always a closed transaction. So
Yep.
I hope that your pop is young enough that you guys can enjoy this journey for many years to come. Because
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're 29 years old, and I mean, there's opportunities coming, and we'll probably get to some of that as we dig a little deeper into what's going on. So
Mm.
your condo, your duplex. Now, I think you were just looking at a 14 unit property, so you've upped the number of doors. Your level of comfort must be much better now than that first condo.
Yeah, yeah. So the obviously the condo was one door, then I went to two doors, and then my next property I went right to eight doors. Because I was like, why not?
And
I was like,
there's
I
the
was
show,
successful.
right?
I was successful here. I was, yeah, why not? Why not real estate? I was successful with the condo, I was successful with the duplex. As long as I do my numbers correctly, and all it is four times more doors than the duplex. So as long as I do my numbers correctly and they line up like that did, then it'll work just as well. Um, and then that also opened my eyes to commercial 5+ unit, more residential multifamily, which instead of looking at how the properties look, what they're selling for around you, you look really at the net operating income of the property. So it's a lot more numbers based, which I like because I'm kind of into math. So as long as you can buy a property, make it net a lot more money, you can increase that value and force appreciate it rather than like waiting for time or just making it look prettier. It's all about the numbers in, numbers out because you treat it like a business, and that's why I now focus a lot on commercial properties. I keep saying commercial, but like larger residential properties.
Yeah, commercial, I would think, is the lending category, but the type of asset is multifamily.
Yep, exactly.
I've had this conversation with so many people on the show. Name another asset that you can control and force the value to go up. I mean, you can't do it with a stock, you can't do it with a CD. I mean, your kitchen for 10 grand, 70K in your pocket. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of sweat and equity and a lot of gray matter. The important things I don't want to miss out is that you trained yourself, you educated yourself, you did the hard things that most people don't want to do. So you did a 1, a 2, an 8. What's the
Yep.
largest number doors?
So after the 8 unit, I bought another condo in Charlotte, just to live in. But then now I just recently closed on a 32 unit in Lancaster, South Carolina.
Wonderful. How'd that
And
feel?
yeah, I mean, it was scary.
Good,
I'm not gonna say that it's
good.
not, but I don't know. I don't know why. Like the I don't multiplying by four, I guess, is the way that I like to do it, right? From 2 to 8, and then from 8 to 32. I don't know why, but it was exciting. I did this a totally different way because I had partners that I brought on board. I found the deal, I ran the numbers, and I'm like, okay, this looks like a potentially a very good deal. Brought on some partners that I think you met one of them, Andrew Freed,
Oh
and
yeah.
another person named Zach Gray. Brought them on because I knew that we had to raise money for this because I was not very liquid. A lot of my money is in my real estate and equity sitting there that I haven't been able to tap into yet. So I understood that we would have to raise this money, and they have a network that could possibly help me raise this. So I said, hey, guys, here's the property that I have. Here's the underwriting that I did, and it looks very good. And this is what it could be after we're done stabilizing it. Um, and they just finished doing a syndication for a New Bedford deal. It was like a 69 unit there. I don't think they did as much of the money raising that we had to do for this deal, but they had an idea of how to present the deal, how to kind of go about reaching out to people and networking. Um, so it was definitely a learning experience as we were doing it, but we essentially put together presentations, talked to investors that we've networked with, presented them what their returns could be. It's obviously nothing is ever guaranteed, but we gave them our trajectory and what our plan is. We ended up raising the money and the capital for it, found a lender that would work with us with good lending options, and we ended up closing the deal. But I'm not going to say it was as easy as we might make it seem because it was definitely stressful. And at the end, it was super stressful. Uh, but we got it done, and now we got a property manager in place. I'm the boots on the ground asset manager, and I'm working with them to help stabilize the property. Everything's going very smoothly so far.
So I want to drill down into this. It actually segues really good in our questions. We'll come back to that other question. We're on this now, so let's go in. Let's
Okay,
do it, right?
let's
So it
do it.
sounds like this was the best deal you'd ever done, the 32.
It has potential to be the best deal. My best deal was probably that 8 unit, personally, but this one is probably the biggest and probably the best deal for the investors. As the general partners, we don't get as much as the pie as you would say,
Sure.
but that's because they put in the money, so they're going to get rewarded the most. But it's
So
still it's a phenomenal deal.
do you want to talk about the 8 or the 32? Which one?
I can talk about the eight unit one is it's great. I'll talk about the eight.
Let's do that one. So the best deal you ever did was the 8 unit. It was a multifamily. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. How did you find it? How did you finance it?
So I found it on Facebook. Someone posted it on an investor group, and I said, I know that property, and I used to live in the town over from that. And a ton of people commented on it and said, I want to buy it. I want to buy it. I want to buy it. A lot of people talk in real estate, but they don't execute. Just that's something that I have realized and, seen. A lot of people say I want to invest in real estate, but they never actually execute and take that first step. So I actually commented, I directly messaged, and I told him, like, I want to buy this cash. Can we just get this done? I'm gonna want to walk it tomorrow. Like, when can I walk it? And he ended up actually answering me out of everybody else. There's probably 100 comments. Um, Ended up financing it the same way as I did the duplex because I just made my dad a ton of money, and I'm like, hey, you know this town, you live right next to it, and he's like, I'm comfortable with that, and I'm like, this is my plan, my trajectory. This is what I think it could be worth, and what I do with it. I'm going to do the exact very similar to what I did with the duplex, and he's like, sounds good to me. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
So that's I private financed it with him again, and yeah, I mean, I could dive any other specific questions before I can just
Oh
dive right
yeah.
into it if you want me to. But
I've got questions.
all right, yeah, you go. You take the
I'm
you
going
take it
to
away.
sink my teeth into this one. I'm already drooling here. It sounds really good.
Yeah,
So, Facebook of all places, he did this without a realtor, without a broker. He just threw it out there.
yeah. So off market properties are usually the best deals you can find, because usually it's a property that someone is either having trouble with, they just want to get rid of, and they don't want to deal with a broker or realtor kind of showing off the property because it makes the tenants kind of a little weary and it causes like drama. So they want less headache. They just want to get rid of the property and just sell it.
So,
And yeah, Facebook does well for me for off market. That's even where I found the 32 unit as well.
oh my God. I get it. What Facebook group do I have out here on the island? I gotta start finding them. So,
Yeah.
what was the seller's situation on this? I mean, you may have touched on some of it. Brokers disrupting the tenants, walking the property, a bunch of tire kickers, those other 99 people who
Mhm.
weren't gonna perform. What was the seller's situation that he wanted to sell this? Why did he want to unload?
So he was traditionally a flipper. He likes fixing flipping. He likes buying properties and wholesaling them. He's all about the quick buck, right? Um, so he bought this property thinking that I was just going to be like a stable cash cow. He's just going to collect rent and kind of whatever, it'll be a nice little passive income thing for him. Well, like half the tenants ended up stop paying rent. They had to evict them. And then he was like, I cannot deal with this anymore. And I just want to get rid of it. And he bought it in like January of 2020. And he tried selling it in like October of that same year. So it was very quick turnaround. He like bought it, had a ton of tenant issues, a ton of like he had a flood there.
Hmm.
Um, and he was like, I need to get rid of this. Um, and that probably scared off a lot of the people too, because he probably told them about the situation, and they're like, I don't want to deal with that. But for me, I was like, there's no better way to learn than to hop into an eviction, hop into total rehab of a unit, hop into dealing with uh, you know new financing of commercial properties. I was just like, I'm ready to learn and I'm ready to take this risk. But after I obviously looked at the numbers and made sure that it was worth taking the risk on. But that's why he was selling it and he was ready to just go. And I said that I have a cash offer, which was the private money that I got from my dad, which is very quick. And he was all about it. And I was very straightforward, like, let me see the property. Let's get this going. I know this property. I know this town. I'm ready to go. And he was all about it.
Wow, what a gem. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm on my third page of notes here. So his mindset wasn't there. You came in with the right mindset. I want to talk about the value play, but let's talk about the
Uh,
financing first. So this was an all cash offer, and I'm so happy to hear that your dad was your investor on this. So
yep.
all cash in, what was the purchase price?
It was it was about like 465,000, let's say. Because there's a little crediting back at the closing table, so I don't know the exact number, but it was around there, 465,000
For 8 units
for 8 units
in 2020.
in 2020 in a nice town called Putnam, Connecticut.
And you didn't feel like Alibaba and the 40 Thieves at that price?
No, because a lot of people thought that I was overpaying, and I'm like, I don't think so
I
because
don't, yeah.
I'm like, first of all, this town, it's because the town used to be, they used to call it uh Putt scum because it used to be not a great town, but it's turned around so much in the years. And of me just living there, going to high school, a town over, and seeing it slowly developing and getting better, I'm like, there's something here. And I just bought it at a good time, and I took the chance. I thought it was worth that amount, and it was. Uh, it's worth a lot more, but we can get into that. And
We're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. So you picked this
yeah,
thing up for 58 a unit, pretty much.
58 a unit. Yep.
Damn. And what did you have to put into it? Rehabs or flood or whatever that you had to do?
Yep. So I had to put in around probably 120,000, 125,000. There was a lot of work to be done because I had to finish evicting one of the tenants, well, two of the tenants, because I made him evict the ones that were about to be done evicting. I'm like, evict those at least.
Sure.
There was one tenant left that was pulling like a mental health card and knew exactly how to play the system. It was right during COVID, so she was using the COVID play. She knew the game better than anybody. But I pushed it out to close on the exact date that the COVID memorandum of like no evictions ended.
Oh,
So
wow.
right when I closed, I can immediately start the eviction. And I didn't even touch doing the eviction myself. I immediately got an attorney that knew exactly how to do it, the whole process. And it still took her 7 to 8 months to get that person out, which is insane. But yeah, we got that out. We had to do the full roof, and roofing is expensive, so we had to change the roofs on both properties. It was a 6 unit and a 2 unit right next to it, so it's like it's two different properties. And we bought it as one, and we had to replace the roof. We had to rehab half of the units. About like every unit that I evicted, I just fully rehabbed it, and then just did like additional light work, put some nice motion sensor lights in the common areas, put some floodlights in the back, painted the uh, parking lot to make it more easy for the tenants to like have their spots. I just made it a lot better, like living situation. But after all like the little renovations and stuff, it was probably at around $120,000 before I did the refinance.
So roof, rehab, 4 units, parking lot, can of yellow paint. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you the story someday about the $3 million can of yellow paint.
Oh, yeah.
Won't do. It's a really good story. It's in one of my property management books. So all in 590.
Yep.
So you bought it October 2020,
We closed in it February 2021.
Feb 21, Feb 21. Okay.
So I told him in the beginning, I was like, cash closer, super quick, let's get this done. And then I kind of played with him a little bit because I was like, I got to look for insurance. I got to look for not lending. I got to look for insurance. I got to make sure it's all set in place because I wanted to push as far outside of the winter as possible so I didn't have to pay for snow.
Right.
and and I wanted it to close on the date that the COVID memorandum was done. So I kind of like pushed it out as far as I could, started negotiating in like November, December, and we closed in February 15th. Um, but I was very like gung ho on it. So he knew that it was all good.
Okay, perfect. Did you do anything with him like non-refundable down payment, anything like that to keep him enticed?
No, he's very, I just showed him, yeah, now that you mention it, I didn't have to put any money down like to keep him enticed, which is insane. I think I put maybe $1,000. Um, but he just knew that I was just very truthful and upfront with him. I'm like, I'm going to buy this property. Like, I'm just trying to get this stuff all figured out. I just need you to evict these people, finish these evictions, and then I'll buy it with these other two that I have to evict. Like, it'll all work out. I'm going to buy it. Here's the statement. Like, I showed him like this bank statement of the cash of the private lender. So he took my word for it. And I still talk to him today. Like, he's a great guy. So he's all about just handshakes and,
Wow.
being truthful and honest, and he felt like I was gonna uphold my end, and I did.
He liked you. People like to do business with people they like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he was a good guy too. I mean, I still talk to him today. He's awesome.
So February 15th, 2021, you close all in 590. What happens now? You get these evictions done, you do the roof, you rehab. What's the timeline from 2021, February 15th? Did you end up refinancing the property, paying off your dad again? Bring me to that closing.
Yep. So once everything was set in place, I did a lot of this myself. So I was the property manager and like GC of the whole thing. So I handled the subcontractors, I handled the payments, the unit fills, the new leases, the new rules, the rent increases, everything like that. And I basically set it up so that when it was time to pass it over to a property manager, they could just step right in and then it could be as passive as possible. And I left them with like not a terrible situation. I left them with a situation that like, this is perfect. This is easy. Um, I refinanced in January with a local credit union. Um, and I was aiming for a value of 800 to $850,000 so I can pay back my dad everything and then just have that property to myself and the equity all there. Um, this is a good story and a good lesson that I learned is that when you're refinancing a property, especially in an area that's not very well known, the market's not very well known, but I knew that market and other investors know that market. The appraiser came out and he even told me up front that he did not know this market. And that should have been like a red light to me to be like, okay, well, this is how much I think the property's worth. This is why. Here's some comps and help him do his job, kind of. I didn't do that. And when you do a refinance, they don't know what you're trying to refinance for. It's not like a purchase contract. They don't see the purchase price. So they don't really understand what number they have to try to hit, I guess, or understand where they're trying to hit. And he came back at like 625,000. And I was like, I'm like, that is wrong. So I basically had to I had to appeal it. I had to provide him with comps. I had to basically be super stressed out for no reason when I could have just done this in the first place. And then he came back and he said it was worth 825,000 after all said and done. And I still think that was a little less than what it is worth. Nowadays, I'll tell you how much it's probably worth, but ended up working great. I got it for like 825,000, paid off the $600,000 or 600 plus $1,000 or so, and then I was in the property for no money down. Now have that equity, and it's cash flowing about. At that point, it was cash flowing about $2,000 a month.
So when you contested the appraisal, how much time was that? A couple of weeks, a couple of months?
They got back to us within a week or two. Because I basically put together some comparables that worked a lot better based on that property, and wrote down like my whole spiel about why I think it's worth that much, why I think that the properties that they used weren't correct, because they were using like 3 families and 4 families to run comps on it. But it was because in the area there's not a lot of like 5+ unit properties. But the crazy thing is one did sell like right down the street. 2 of them sold right down the street. One was a 6 unit, one was a 7 unit, and they didn't use those as comps. So I just quickly sent them those and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Here's the correct comps. And then they came right back pretty quick. They basically realized like, oh, we did mess up here. This is the correct value.
So was it about a week, maybe 40 hours, 1 week of time to get that appraisal turned?
Probably a week of stressing.
Okay, now let's, I mean, way at the beginning here, we talked about risk and reward, and I like finding these numbers and then kind of pinning the tail on the donkey. So that week of work, 40 hours, netted you in the appraisal an extra 200K. You made $5,000 an hour that week.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
guess,
still
yeah,
stressful?
if you look at it that way. I mean,
Okay,
yeah, it was still stressful.
It was stressful, right?
Yeah.
So even if you put 20 hours of work into it, you were making 10K an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think about it that way. So it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it for sure.
It does get worth it after a while. All right, so now we get to have the fun part, right?
Mhm.
You refinance it at 825, right?
Yep.
Okay, so $235,000. You were able to raise the value of that property 235K, almost $250,000.
Yep.
Again, we're not looking at the depreciation or any of the other icing on the cake. Everybody just looks at the cash flow and says, okay, that's my deal. I make whatever you said, 2,000 a month. But if we're looking at the depreciation on that, or let's do it. You said 2,000 a month was your cash flow, right?
Yeah. And that, I think at that point it was only like 80% stabilized. So some of the rents weren't at market yet. And over the past year, I've got it to that point now that it's probably 95% stabilized.
All right, that's another 30K a year in deductions. So $4,000 or $5,000 a month all day long.
Yeah.
Cash flow and depreciation, not to mention, you said, what do you think it's worth now?
Uh, I would say $1 million
One
because I've
year
had
later.
yeah, because I increased the rent another 1,500 across the board, and also finished updating another unit, so I added an additional unit, and yeah, I would say comfortably I could probably sell it if I went on market. I could sell it for $1 million. I've had people walk it for 1.1 million because the cash flow is so good that I'm like, if you want it from me, you got to pay 1.1 for it. And people walk it and they say this is great, but I just can't pay that much. If it's a little less, I would. So I think I would say it's probably 1 million.
So what's your interest rate on that one?
That one's 6%.
Okay, reasonable commercial loan.
Yep.
Ah, so nice, so nice. All right, let's get back on script here. I mean, this is a wonderful, wonderful deal.
But that's the one. So that this is the deal that really opened my eyes to like getting they talk about like the tiers of financial freedom, right? So like there's like the first tier that like your bills are paid, your mortgage is paid, and you don't have to worry about that. And you can reach that house hacking, right? Because you're like, okay, if I lose my job, at least I have some people that are helping me pay my mortgage. I won't lose it. And then there's tier two, which is like now you have like supplemental money over that you can use for other expenses or groceries or something like that. And this is when I reached like tier two. So if I lost my job, I would be able to still cover all my mortgages, and I would have still an additional like $2,000 a month to be able to live on. And that's just another chapter of real estate that when you reach it, like I reached that, and I'm like, now I need to get to tier level three, which is I don't know what that tier is, but I would like to get there. It's probably enough money to start just investing it even more. Literally, can quit your any job that you wanted to. But
so
I would say
yeah,
that that's the one that got me to tier two.
so my dad used to explain it to me this way. Everybody lives with three buckets. You've got your needs, your toys, and your investments.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your third tier is having that overflow to do the investments.
Yep.
So most, and I'm not bashing tenants because they help us to live the life we live, and we're able to provide them clean, safe, sanitary, decent housing.
Mm-hmm.
But I see in so many tenants, you walk in and there's that big flat screen TV. So, and not just tenants, I mean, 90% of the population, they spend the majority of their money on their toys. If they have any left, they pay their rent, their bills, their mortgage, and their car payment. And they never have anything left for the third bucket, which is your investment bucket. If you flip that around and pour your coins into the investment bucket, that will flow over to pay your mortgage, your car, your food, your rent,
Mm-hmm.
which will then flow over to buy you your toys. I mean, I've
Exactly.
said this so many times, and people think I'm crazy. If a thief broke into my house and stole all my stuff, I wouldn't care because they're not stealing the books,
Yeah. Right.
which gave me the know-how to pay for everything else. And
Yeah.
you started this whole story with educating yourself, reading the books. So what this is my little time machine question here, and it's morphed into two parts.
Mm-hmm.
So in your what do you got, 30 years of investing experience now?
Yeah. I mean, I guess now I got like
Uh,
a what is it?
three.
Three about
Oh, yeah, three.
3 years.
I was only off by a zero. It doesn't add up to much. Zero, right? So in 3 years of investing, man, I wish it were a little bit longer to have some perspective here. But what piece of advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time starting over? And where you are now, what piece of advice would you give a newbie? So let's start with you. What advice would you have given yourself?
Mine, I mean, if I could meet myself when I was coming out of high school or in college and be
Sure.
able to say, hey, you should probably think about trying to get a property or investing now. Um, that's probably the biggest thing I would try to do is because investing in real estate is a big time thing. Time is on your side. So as long as you can buy as many doors as you can when you're young, you're going to have a very fruitful future. without putting in like a ton of work, honestly. Just based on the historics and the history of appreciation and how property continues to go up, rents continue to go up, you'll be pretty well off. um, but another thing I would tell myself is, again, back to this, the first big check that I got, that's $70,000. It would be to go invest this again. Don't splurge it. Maybe use like 10 to 15% of it to have fun, but not half or whatever. Because I could have probably had maybe one or two more properties by now just by utilizing that correctly. But because I didn't, uh, I learned a valuable lesson that I'm going to take into the future as I get bigger checks. But that's one thing. Those are two things that I would try to tell myself from the get go.
You can't beat yourself up here. You're under 30. You've figured it out. You know what you need to do. Okay, so you had some fun with that money. That's fine. I'm not going to beat you up on that at all because you learned from it. You're bringing it forward. Starting earlier. So many times I've asked investors, like seasoned guys older than myself, which now there aren't as many because I'm getting up there and old. What would you have done? And they always say, I would have bought sooner. And then I drill them and ask them another question. What's the second thing you would have done? They say they would have bought larger properties sooner. You're under 30 and you already figured that out.
I'm trying. I feel like people, the one thing is that people look at people that are investing like myself, and yeah, I have like 43 units, or you meet another person that has like 100 units. But behind closed doors, like when we're working together, we're learning just as we do everything. Like we don't know everything. The difference between us and someone that is just talking about getting into real estate and is afraid to do it is just taking that first step and trying to learn as you go and take the risk. I don't know, like during that 32 unit Lancaster deal, when I got it and when I underwrote it, I was like, this looks like a good deal, but what do I do? And I just brought it to people and I learned as I went. And that's the thing, like from the outside looking in, if you're a new investor and you're very new at this and you see people that are excelling and doing really well, don't take it as like, they're so good at what they do, or they're experts, they're the best, or they're just, I can never be that. I'm scared shitless every single deal that I do because I'm figuring it out along the way. Yes, I have more experience and I've done it before, and I kind of know that the numbers line up and they do work as long as you just keep pushing forward. So I have that experience, but it's nothing like just taking that first step forward, and then you learn as you go. That's the biggest thing. That's gonna answer your second question too. Like for the newbie, that's the first thing I would tell them. It's just do it, especially because you're young. If you buy a property and you fail, do you know how much time you have on your hands to like fix that problem or try again? Like I'm so young. Like I'm 29. I tell myself all the time that I feel old, but I still have like 60 years left of my life. I've only lived like, I don't know, a third of my life. And I've done this little stretch of investing in a tenth of that third of my life. So you can do so much just by starting, and just start doing and just start learning, and just don't be afraid, because life isn't meant to be lived afraid. That's what I would say.
So if you stay on chart, and thank you for following up with the second answer, because that was gold. So
Yeah.
if you stay on your multiple of 4, then your next you well, hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
That means you're targeting 128 unit property.
All right. I'm gonna do that. And I'm
Why
gonna be
not?
so
Right?
scared. That's the thing.
Well,
Like let's do it. Like I'm down to do it.
I mean, Ryan skis, right? He goes
Mhm.
to Colorado, he skis. I mean, you don't start on a black diamond trail. And in Colorado, your blue trails or your green trails are like black diamond trails out here. So,
Mhm.
and you can't beat yourself up, because I say it all the time. The only person I'm competing with is me.
Yep.
Am I hitting my goals? Am I doing the things that I've set out for me? And if you're doing that, you can't compare yourself to someone who's got that 100, 200, 500, 10,000 unit portfolio. they had a lot more sleepless nights and took a lot more risk. So
Hmm.
when you earn the right to take that risk, if you want to do that, if you even want to do that, then you earn that right to have that portfolio. If you don't want to take that risk, that's totally fine. You said you're in tier 2 of your financial freedom. You could live there for the rest of your life and be totally fine and not
Hmm.
worry about it. So, but you are young enough to be able to correct if you did a bad deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got 60 years left to fix things. And I always look at real estate as a slow moving train, right? You've got plenty of time to see it, get on it, get off it. You know where it's going to go. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, all this stuff. You can add the value, or if you do the death spiral and don't take care of the property, that works against you as well.
Yeah, like I would, to back that up, like real estate is a patient and it's a slow game. Yes, you can make like quick money hits here and there, but you got to look at it as like a long trajectory. And it's like yeah, like you said, it's like a long train to success or financial freedom. The problem today, another thing I would tell someone that's a newbie is to just get off of social media and stop looking at all these gurus that are saying like, I just made $100,000 in 4 weeks of blah blah blah. It's like they're selling a course to you for a reason, and it's because they're making money that way, not by actually doing what they're saying. So a lot of what these gurus out there are saying is actually kind of BS. They're just taking it from people that have succeeded, and they're taking how they have succeeded and selling a course on it of something that they've never done before. Now, just take the traditional path, learn about real estate, get as educated as you can to the point that you're like, I could probably do something. I'm afraid to take that first step, but I've every book that I read now seems the same. And that's when you want to take that first step and then kind of execute. And then once you do that one execution and do it successfully or learn from it, then you know there's no ceiling anymore. You can go as high as you want, you can go as far as you want, because you're going to realize that if you take that first step forward, you can do it.
So, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome as an investor?
My biggest hurdle was it was probably just you know taking that first step, like I said. I've never I've never made a lot of money off of like base salary or anything like that. Like I've never had like a cushion. Never had like a really well paying like W-2 to start investing, but I figured out ways around that to get into these properties by doing like low down payments, um, using other people's money. I figured out ways to get into the game even though I wasn't making a significant amount of money. I think that was the biggest hurdle. Um, and I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people too. They feel like they can't do it because they just don't have the money, don't have the funds. But there's a lot of programs out there you can manipulate to your advantage. And if you go to networking events, as long as you bring certain tools to the picture, you can find other people with the other tools. Like if you know how to work a deal, another person has the money but doesn't have the time, then you can be a perfect match to get into a property together. Um, so don't ever put up a barrier on yourself that says I can't invest because I don't make enough money. That's fine. You don't need money to really invest. Um, or I don't know enough, so I can't invest. Well, then go read some books and educate yourself. That's free. It's YouTube's free. Books might cost like $7 or so, but they're pretty affordable. And yeah, I just that's probably my biggest hurdle was the money thing. And that is a lot of people's hurdle. So I just hope that this kind of shows that you can do it. You can find ways to do it.
Well, I love that you identified what the problem was and then you came with the solution. I force all of my team to do that. Don't come and tell me the problem without having a solution to back it up. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos on that. So your solution was really think out of the box, be creative, come up with strategies, other people's money, and don't just say, okay, well, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or I'm not worthy enough. I'm just going to stay here on the couch where I belong and, float through the remote. I mean, don't float the remote. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You identified, you said, there's got to be some other way to do this. So you
Yeah.
challenge yourself.
Yep. Yeah. The first step is identifying what your barrier is. And it might be hard to identify because it keeps pushing down on you and it keeps saying like you can't do it. Um, but once you identify it, you can find out any solution possible for it, no matter what it is.
So I'm dying to get into this segment here because you've been mentioning books and educating yourself throughout the whole program here.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if the answer is going to come up purple.
It might.
It might come up purple. So was there a book in your investing career that had the biggest impact on you? The first book or a book that made that impact?
Yep. Um, I know everybody says Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was one of the books, but I'm gonna say the first one that really made an impact on me was one of Brandon Turner's real estate investing books. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad, yes, put the mindset um, of building equity and using assets and assets versus um, what's the word?
Assets and
Assets
liabilities.
versus yeah, liabilities. That's what I'm thinking of. Assets versus liabilities. Kind of like taught me about that. But then what really like made me be able to take that step forward was Brandon Turner's book. I think it's called just Property Long Term Real Estate Investing. It's the white and blue cover. He has three different books. There's a red and blue cover, a yellow and blue cover, and a white and blue one. I might have it over here. I can just find it. But um,
Yeah,
that was like,
probably in that bookshelf right back there. It's the
yeah,
bigger
it's probably
pockets
in there.
use the third cube.
Yeah, so that one was probably the best one because it really breaks it down to you Barney style of different ways you can invest in real estate and really makes it like seem attainable for anybody.
This one? Wait a minute.
Uh
This one?
no, it was a different one. Let me
Okay.
see if I can grab it real quick. I think it's right here. Let me grab it.
Book on rental property investing. We'll see if we get the same book when you come back. And this is where I sing Christmas songs. Survey says we'll put it up at the same time on three. Ready?
Actually, I it's such a good book. I don't even have it. You want to know why? Because
Because you lent it to
I
somebody.
lent it to somebody.
Does
But
it look like
that's
this?
an it might be. I mean, he could have changed the cover,
Yeah, it
but
could be.
the cover did look like this. But this is the red one.
Right. Yes, that one's back there too.
Yep. So I would say the one that's like this, but it's blue, is like the best go-to kind of like Barney style how to get into real estate investing. And this is the next one that I would say, because
Okay.
this one teaches you how to really invest with basically what the title says, investing in real estate with no and low money down. So this is what taught me different ways that I can buy without a lot of money in my pocket. And that's using different loans, using other people's money. Um, but yeah, those two books are the ones that really got me going. So Brandon Turner, thank you. I actually met him in person once and he's a cool guy. And his beard really is long.
I just making notes on both of those books there. So yeah, the Bigger Pockets clan for sure. Um, yeah, it's the weirdest. I've been investing for so long, and I was listening to these podcasts, and I think it was called Money on Tap, and it was these 401k guys, and I would scream at the radio every time they'd say 401k is tax-free investing. It's like, no, it's not. You're going to pay the taxes later when you take it out. So that was my first turn on to podcasts and stuff. So I said, maybe I'll just go on to the computer and see if I can download all this stuff because I'd only hear these two or three podcasts kept getting repeating. So
Mm-hmm.
when I found the show, they only had like 10 or 15 episodes that they just kept playing again and again. I said, there's got to be something else out there.
Yeah.
That's when I found Bigger Pockets. And that just, I followed Brandon's lead. I moved to an island and manage my business from here now. I said, hey, if he can do it, I mean, Maui's not in the same time zone for me. This is
Uh-huh.
in the same time zone. Why not? Right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's out
So,
there living his life, and now he's giving back to he did it the right way. He's very wealthy, does very well now, but he all he does is give back now. He has charity events. I'm part of his Better Life tribe, which is a mastermind that he created, that all the money that we put into it goes towards human trafficking, like stopping human trafficking, and like Tim Tebow's fund and stuff like that. So he's doing the right thing. And yeah, I mean, he's a
so
great mentor for sure.
we'll give Brandon the first book slots 1A and 1B. Would there be a second book that you may have recommended? Because I'll take Brandon's book as a package deal.
Yep. I mean, other than Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I have like all my books right here. Let me just trying to look at one to be like, which one? There's so many.
Well, something that just was like, I feel like all the books I read, I get a nugget out of, but every now and then one of them just hits me upside the head. And it's like, whoa, why didn't I think of that before?
Oh, the one that really helped too was a 4 hour work week.
That's
Um, because that one, I was doing this stuff before of how to like kind of uh facilitate and kind of um branch out your work to other people to like help your business work like a machine, that you don't have to do all the tedious tasks. You can divvy it out to certain people, have like VAs doing certain work, and it allows you to expand and just do a lot more with less time. And that book really opened my eyes to that, because it got to a point where I was just overwhelmed because I was doing so much myself, and I'm like, I got to do everything. But then I was like, I can't do everything because you get burnt out.
right.
So that book really opened my eyes to like finding other ways to really take some weight off your plate and keep that business growing and flowing.
The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss is the first book I ever read where I actually depleted an entire highlighter before I finished the book.
Just
It's
every
like the
sentence
whole,
you're like,
you
great,
open it
great,
up,
great.
it's all like fluorescent yellow. It's like, oh, this is good. This is great. This is fantastic. Oh, I got to do this. And it's like, yeah, it's like halfway through the book, it's like, wow, how am I ever gonna like catalog all this stuff? Everything's yellow. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a really great book. And that was before COVID.
Mhm.
So after COVID, a lot of the stuff in the 4 Hour Work Week just is now normal. I mean, he talks about these strategies on how to approach your boss to ask to work remotely. And now, I mean, COVID happened. We've got offices in Los Angeles, Boston, and Aruba, and we manage Bel Air, East Bel Air, West Bel Air, South. And it's like normal now to
Yeah.
do that. So you're definitely at a young 30, not even 30, having this tools and the internet and this new culture of working remotely. You're, man, I'd love to trade shoes, but I'm happy with my sandals. Actually, truth is, I'm not wearing shoes,
Yeah.
which is even
Hey,
better.
I'm jealous of your sandals. Maybe one day I'll be able to live on an island too. I'm
Well,
excited for that.
the way the tax code works, if you want to have a business trip and deduct it, you can more than welcome to come down, be my guest. We can talk about real estate, drive the island, and deduct the whole thing over dinner.
That is true. That
Yeah.
is true.
Last I looked, real estate is everywhere.
Yeah. You just have to go look at a property.
Well, the intent to look at a property, absolutely
Yes.
correct. So we're having a really good time here. Believe it or not, we're about an hour and a half in, and I think I've got through everything. So my the next question I have for you is, what's next on your horizon for real estate, and why not get started?
So my mind is always working in different ways, and I'm always thinking of different things to do. Obviously, I want to continue building my assets that I own and my real estate company, buy as many doors as I possibly can, continue growing to reach that financial freedom. But what's really next on line for me is to work on becoming a very good private lender and like an expert in that space, because I think down the line I would love to possibly have my own company that does private lending, because just the opportunity there to one, help investors find avenues or ways to get into real estate by using private lending. I love the numbers and aspects of lending. I love the quick turnaround, and the profit of lending is fantastic too. Um, and it's just it's just fun, you know. I I love that stuff. So that's way deep on the horizon, I would say. But I mean, just
Well,
learning, becoming the best I could on that.
let's bring it into reality for today. The name of that company, if correct me if I'm wrong, is Center Street Lending.
Yep.
Okay, so it's real. It exists now.
Yeah. So it is. It's a real company that exists, but I'm just a loan officer for them. So it's not like my company. I would like to eventually have possibly my own, but I mean for now, I'm just gonna learn from the best. They're the best to do it, Center Street Lending. And you know, who knows? I might just they might just be so good that I stay here, you know. Who knows? But that's really the best that I could possibly be and become the expert on that side of lending and continue growing my real estate as fast as I possibly can.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your other company, and this happened. How much you want to divulge is up to you. But
Mhm.
Dia Badass, would you like to tell us a little bit about that and unpack that for our viewers?
Yeah, so Die Badass is a separate business that I started back in October now. It officially launched like around the beginning of November. Um, but basically, what is it is a platform and a community where type 1 diabetics, and even type 2 diabetics can go there too, because it's all information that's helpful. Can go to this community to basically figure out the best ways to handle diabetes in your day to day, best tips, tricks, you know, healthcare places, doctors, personal trainers, dietitians, everything like that, can be within this community to really help someone live the best life they can, even with type 1 diabetes. I found that when I was diagnosed, when I was 25, I kind of just was diagnosed. I went to the doctors. They said, "You're type 1 diabetic. Make sure you inject yourself with this insulin." And then they sent me on my way. Didn't explain really anything at all. And I think that's just not good. You know, that's not helpful to anybody, and it's really something that is missing within the medical industry, unfortunately. Is like information and actually sitting down with patients and giving them the best information to live their life with this new disease or new illness, you know. um so this is just a business that I started way down the line, or as we get going, I would like it to be a platform that people go to where it's a one-stop shop for diabetics. Like, say I'm a diabetic and I want to find a personal trainer within the area that focuses with someone with diabetes, understands what I'm going through, has the best exercise and diet routines available, to work with me. I would like this website or community to be somewhere that they can go, type in where they are, maybe get partnered with like a personal trainer, get partnered with a physician that's diabetes partnership, um, and just just have a team of diabetesses just ready to help each other live life to the fullest. Um, but that's kind of like what I'm doing, what I'm going with. Very, very, very new. It's just growing now. I got a Facebook group called Diabetes Community. If you're a diabetic, type 1 diabetic, you can join it. If you're a family member of type 1 diabetics, you can join it too. It's just a great place to really communicate with other diabetics, help each other out, give each other tips and tricks. Um, and yeah.
Well, Andrew Freed said the riches are in the niches, and it sounds like a niche business, and not just a business. You're going to make an impact. You're going to change the world around you. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that's the whole point of it. I could profit nothing from it. And if it grows and helps people, that's enough wealth for me, just having a change with in people's lives. And I think I have 10% of everything goes to 10% of all profits go to uh, diabetes awareness. And I usually have the community after each year. What I'm going to do is have them vote, pick which ones to allocate the money to.
Nice.
So I'm going to have a little poll, have them say what companies they like to donate to, and then we'll have a little vote, and the percentages that all hit, that's the percentage amount of the profits that I will put into uh, each charity or community or the business that helps with diabetic awareness.
So we've got Wendell Butler kicking off Badass. Keep your eyes on that, boys and girls, because I think it's going to go somewhere. Uh, Learning the ropes. It's Center Street Lending, someday to have his own. And here he is, Hammerhead Capital Incorporated, on track for his next venture at 128 doors. And just to have some fun with that, one after that's going to be 512 units.
Woo!
Why not, right? Why not?
Yeah, why not? Honestly, it's all the same thing. It's just more doors, same process.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit longer to do the inspections. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. It's just you got to walk through 500 doors. Walking through 32 was pretty tough, but yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you get four friends to go out there with you and pull it down.
Heck
So
yeah.
here we are. We've covered just about everything. The last question I always throw out, which is kind of a curveball, what's the question I forgot to ask you that I should have asked you?
Um, that is a curveball. I would say, what is something that you're looking to help other people with in the real estate investing community? And I would answer, if you ever want to reach out to me, if you're new, if you're in experienced investor, you ever just want to talk shop about markets or what you're looking into, even in the Charlotte area, I'm more than welcome uh, to speak upon that. And also, if you're looking for any private lending, if you're looking to do some fix and flips, new build constructions, bridge loans, you need DSCR loans. I can always help you out in that area too. But don't be afraid to ever reach out to me. And my social media is the same across the board. It's just at Wendell P. Butler IV. And I think that's my social media everywhere. And if you just DM me, I'll see it.
Well, you answered my next question. How can our viewers, our listeners get in touch with you? And we've got at Wendell P. Butler.
IV, because I'm the fourth. So my dad is a
IV.
third. I gotta keep that tradition going too. So what's next? I gotta keep that tradition going too. Gotta have a Wendell the
Oh,
fifth
goodness. Well,
eventually.
can't help you with that one. That's going to be a little out of my market zone there. So, yeah. Wow,
uh,
this has been fantastic. And what a great way to close out the year. I want to thank you so much for reaching out to me. Um, yeah, very, very interested. I'd like to keep connected offline here. And absolutely, if you want to hook up later, I talked about my buddy with the hotel. I'll hook you up with him. I might be interested in the North Carolina market and some of the stuff we've been seeing. We've been interviewing so many people. We know so many investors on the sidelines right now waiting for all these commercial loans to get called in because of the interest rates, because how people
mhm.
bought these things 3, 4, 5 years ago. That they'll give you terms of 20, 30, 15 amortization, but in 5 years, you got to rewrite the loan.
Yep.
Some of these people are just going to have to bail ship at 5 years because they're not going to be, it won't be the same deal they bought 5 years ago. So I mean, I hate to say it, but we're waiting for a lot of these loans to come belly up. So opportunities come out there again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fortunate for some investors that are trying to buy properties, but it's unfortunate for the ones that got caught in that low interest kind of environment. But this goes to show, never underwrite based on the current interest. Always underwrite with the worst case scenario in the future. Um, never really know the future, but always do it conservatively, and you will save yourself a lot less headache and stress and possibly financial problems.
Wendell, I want to thank you so much helping me close out 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Happy New Year. It's been an amazing year. I first time at a loss for words, but I'll just take it to the closing. Ladies and gentlemen, my real estate peeps, this is Brian Lucier with Mr. Wendell Butler here on the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, signing off for 2023. We'll see you next year on another one.
Thank you, Brian. Have a good one, everybody. Happy New Year.